He's going to get the lies my father told me. That's Cohen's book from Montreal.
I remember.
What's the
Richter.
date?
What's the date?
Yeah, today's April
Something.
April 7th, 6th.
6th.
It's 1994. This is John Keogh and Linda Keogh. And we're in San Miguel de Allende, in su casa en Guanajuato.
That's Linda Keogh you saw. You're tilting the tripod and it's going to be all funny.
Well, that's a funny tripod.
Why can't we have a monitor?
Because she didn't want you looking at yourself.
Is it recording
Of
now?
course it's recording.
He is going. We're going. Well.
Now you really appreciate what Desmond went through to do that. He did such a good job on his.
Yeah, but he had it all planned.
I mean, he scripted it.
Yeah.
It was very obviously scripted and well done too.
And edited.
It was very well edited. You do with Russo.
I guess I'd like to start with how you met each other and what your first impressions were of each other.
The blind date.
No, it wasn't. He was a friend of my brother's, and he played chess with him all the time. And so one day he came over to play chess with my brother. My brother wasn't home, so I opened the door and there he was. And so we just sat and we talked. And I'm a very good listener, I think, because he got enamored with that I listened to him, and I was interested in all the things that he was talking about, dancing especially. And
So you weren't a dancer yet?
well, I had been studying dancing. Yes, I had been, but I was not with a classical ballet. And he got me very interested in that, and it was through John when I got my scholarship to the Royal Academy of Ballet.
So what was your first impression of Dad? Like after he left, what did you...
She'd
Gee,
seen
how
me
can I
before.
remember that far back?
You'd seen me before.
I'd seen him before,
You were only 15.
and I
She
thought
was
he
always
was
in the
really
background. Sort of
very,
appearing.
very, very handsome. I mean, really handsome guy.
She had trouble with her eyes even in those days.
And you know, I think that we clicked because we both have got a good sense of humor, and I think that was something that really pulled us together. Don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't love at first sight?
What do I know about 15 or love? I don't think so. I don't know.
It was infatuation at first sight.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Well, how did you feel about that? When I first meeting.
Well, it was wonderful to have somebody who would listen to me.
Right, didn't anybody ever
No,
listen to
nobody ever
you?
listened to me.
Really?
No.
She laughed at your jokes?
She laughed at my jokes, and she was enthusiastic about what we were talking about.
It's hard to remember that.
Oh, it's not hard to remember. I remember very clearly.
I remember our first date, and he took me to this place called the Sea Breeze, which was a dance place where they had an orchestra.
So did you call Mom up and ask for a date? Or
Yes.
what was that like for you?
Terrifying.
Why?
Well, because I was so unsure of myself.
Really?
Even though I was such a BSer, I was still very unsure of myself, and I was worried, that you would turn me down, and that would be an awful blow to my
Oh.
macho.
Well, what I found in my adult life was that my mother said to my sister, "What does he see in her?" Wasn't that nice? But I didn't know that.
So she said yes, and then you felt better.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then did you pick her up?
I came and picked her up, and we walked down the
He
Sunnyside.
remembers what I wore.
What did she wear?
She had saddle shoes and bobby socks, and a plaid jacket, and a pleated skirt, and a white silk blouse with embroidery all down the front that her mother had made. Yeah. How about that? Yeah, well, it's only 53 years ago. Yeah, it's 54, it was 1940. How about that? 54.
So that was sort of beginning.
So you went to the Seabreeze and you danced?
Yeah, and it was,
And
you bought tickets. It was 10 cents a dance. And then the war was on. The war only just started. And the war was on, and a lot of guys were in uniform. And we had a great time.
So you had to buy tickets to dance with Mom?
Yep. Sure, yeah.
Did you have to buy tickets to dance with Dad?
No, I bought a strip of tickets, and at the end of each dance, the guy would come along and he'd hand me a
I
ticket.
can't remember. Was it recorded or was it?
No, it was alive.
live.
No,
Live.
the Seabreeze Orchestra.
What kind of dancing?
Slow,
Jitterbugging?
slow dancing.
Jitterbug?
Yeah,
Sure,
jitterbugging.
jitterbug.
And then a set of slow and, jitterbugging. And, what do you call it when you dance together?
Foxtrot.
Well, yeah. But contact that, close dancing.
Old-fashioned dancing.
Oh, fantastic. And we love to dance. We've always loved
We hit
to
it
dance.
off, just like
And,
that.
yeah, we really hit it off. And we really became very good friends. Good friends.
So was there some charge there? I mean, when you
Yeah.
walked home, was there just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
are we going to kiss? Or
Oh, yes, but I put him on for
She wasn't that
6
kind of
weeks.
girl.
6
you wouldn't kiss him at all for 6 weeks?
6 weeks. Well,
Do you
maybe
remember the first one?
Yeah.
Where was it?
In the park.
The park.
It was in the park.
In the rain. Yes, it was in the rain, dear.
But there was a man watching it.
I wouldn't wear it.
I think.
I had a tweed jacket on and it was raining, and tweed smells like hell when it gets wet. And all I can remember, she just loved to walk in the
Wasn't
rain.
it another time?
No, that was the time.
Anyway, I remember what you said to me when we got to the door and you said goodbye. You were into the Russian thing. And you said, what did you say?
I lost Lublin.
Which means?
I love you in Russian. Oh, well, that was the start of the big acting career.
You must look good. I
Oh,
know.
gee, I forgot all about that. Oh, Lordy.
And then I remember something about Russian boots. We were into the dance and the Russian boots.
And we went all over town trying to get somebody to make us Russian boots.
Both of you boots.
At that
Well,
time,
we wanted them.
at that time, Russia, it was very difficult again. Russia was behind the 8 ball. It wasn't until later in 41 when they became allies that Russia was finally okay. But by that time, it was impossible to get leather or get anybody to do it. We tried so hard to buy Russian boots.
And I made him a beautiful shirt
Yeah,
with Russian, with full sleeve.
embroidery all down.
Didn't I do?
Yeah. The Russian peasant shirt.
We were sort of a fetish with us at that time, right?
Russian thing.
Yeah, we were fascinated with Russia.
And ballet,
Mostly,
and Russian.
mostly with the ballet, the dance,
ballet.
the music.
And then he started teaching me ballet, Royal Academy ballet, and we made a studio in the 3rd floor of my house, and with a bar and he'd be up there, and I'd be the first position, second position, so forth, and all of this. And then my father was very nervous about what we'd be doing up there, and he'd go, Linda! What are you doing?
Two hormone crazy teenagers.
Being physical.
And, but anyway,
I think he was misled by first position, second position.
as a result of that, though, of that first training in the classical tradition, I got a scholarship with Bettina Byers at the Royal Academy. And I was one of the first students in Canada to pass the exams of the Royal Academy. And an adjudicator, Madame Genet, came over from England to judge us. And it was quite something, I think, wasn't it? So I was dancing in the valley, and then he went away to New York.
How would you describe what Mom looked like then?
She was little.
She was little.
Yeah. It was beautiful. It's like she is now. It really was. She's hardly changed.
I didn't see it that way.
I know you didn't see it that way. I have pictures to prove it.
Really?
Yeah. She was lovely.
How would you describe how Dad looked then?
Really? Adonis. Look at the profile.
Hair.
Black hair and beautiful.
Yeah, well, on to the next
You know,
one.
very young. What was he? 17 or 18?
17 when I met you.
And then how much later when you went to New York?
18.
And this was to dance with the
American Ballet Theater.
American Ballet Theater. So how long were you separate then?
I don't know. I don't remember because the war came along and...
No, about
and
7 or 8 months.
Was that when you started
But he
writing
wrote
letters?
to me all the time. He wrote to me, and he wrote about all his experiences in New York. And really fascinating.
Still got them.
We still
got
have.
them.
We still have all those
Box
letters.
of letters, all in shocking fake envelopes upstairs.
Plus all the letters that you
All
sent.
I sent while I was in the service.
While he was in the service, he wrote to me everything.
So what did the separation do to your relationship then?
Well, I think because we communicated so much, it probably made it better. Because we sort of didn't miss a beat all the time I was in service. I got home fairly often.
I was dancing,
He was dancing all the
and
time.
I was modeling.
He was a bore. War was a bore.
And when he came out of the service, then we had to do something. We had to make a living.
And you weren't married?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, well then let's go back. How did you decide to get married?
Well, I'll tell you how we decided to get married. We'd been courting like for 3 years, and well, we got married him and gave him an engagement ring. And
Well, what was that like? Did you get on your knees or?
No.
No.
No, we went down to Burke's Ellis Riley on Young Street and went in, see what we could afford.
I picked the pearl.
Took the pearl,
Oh, I still have it. And
$69, that was.
60.
That was a lot of- It was.
Okay, 65. It was like a cultured pearl. But,
We
you
were
know,
engaged for so long, and we were so
We were-
steamed up, we were about to precede the atomic bomb that went off. So we decided, and it looked like, we thought, first we were gonna wait till the war was over, because we didn't the last time. Then it went on and on and on. And I was stationed near Toronto, and I got home for a weekend, so we said, well, let's get married. And so we finally got married. And then, of course, as soon as we got
married
married.
so we could go to bed.
Oh, was that the reason? Yes, it was the reason.
There was a reason because you had already gone to bed, so you went, we have to get married, or?
We toyed with it.
So did you go to bed before you were married?
Do you want to know that? That's it.
This is for the future
He
generations.
asked me when he's 10 years old, what is it like to have sex? You gotta remember you telling me that. And I wrote all that down. Well, we did once when we were engaged. We went to bed once, and then that was a really dramatic experience because I thought I was pregnant.
She got so scared.
And I got pregnant.
So the doing of it wasn't the traumatic thing, it was afterwards. It was
Yeah.
like, oh no.
Yeah,
Oh, the doing of it was fantastic.
that was good. But then we didn't do it again until after we were married.
What was that, next day?
It was close. I think
Yeah.
it was close,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah, we got married pretty soon after.
Yeah. May the 1st, we got married, and then he had leave. He had leave from the Air Force at that time, and I think we spent the whole leave in bed.
The whole evening?
The whole leave.
Leave
Which is how long?
in bed.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Because we did. That was it. That was our honey.
We had 2.5 years worth to catch up on, you know.
We lived in this little flat, and then he went back into.
Yeah, so after we got married, then they posted me to Halifax. I'd be sitting around, near Toronto for 2.5 years, and then they stuck me down there. But actually, it was a good deal because within the next year and a half, I got 87 days of official leave, so I was in Toronto a lot of that time, and I was traveling all the time. So it was pretty good with it.
Yeah, it was good.
What was your wedding like?
Oh, it was. Her wedding was a very small wedding.
Church wedding?
It was in the vestry.
It was the only way you could get married in those days.
You couldn't get a civil
There was no
marriage
civil
down in
marriage.
Toronto at that time.
So we had to go back to the church where I had gone, where I had sung in the choir, and where my parents had done shows, theatrical productions, all the time I was growing up. And the minister there wasn't too choked up about marrying me because he knew that I was, that I was out of the church. Oh yeah, and I dropped out. I dropped out when I was 14.
He didn't know me.
Didn't know me.
And I had no religious
I had to go
affiliation
somewhere.
at all.
I had to go somewhere.
So we had to get married somewhere. So we got married there. It took
They-
12 minutes.
They would marry us in the church, they would
12
marry us in the vestry.
And then
We were churchgoers, so they would marry us in the main church.
12 minutes it took us. And then we went home, and it was a very small reception in my house. And not, big white veil and all that.
That was intentional, that you didn't want to do a big white dress?
We didn't have time. We didn't have money.
No,
We went on, it was
I
just immediate family there,
Immediate
my
family.
family, and
An old boyfriend of mine.
only one of my sisters was there. And then it was
And your mother and father?
my
were
mother
there?
and father were there.
And that was,
Was there a reception?
An old
Just
boyfriend
very-
of yours?
Frank Johnson was there.
Was he at the wedding?
No, he was
Oh,
at
the
the
reception.
reception. And
What was that?
I don't remember, I remember, and he said to you, if you hadn't have married her, I would have. That's what he said. You don't.
Yes, I remember that. Now I remember that, yeah.
At the reception?
At the reception.
Yeah, and town wasn't too happy about you marrying me either. She had a lot of boyfriends.
Haroldtown,
Haroldtown.
famous Canadian painter, in case you don't know about him.
So he married somebody else because you were already married?
He may have, yeah, very unhappily too.
Who?
Town.
Oh, come on.
Sure he did.
I don't think he was that enamored.
And what about your drawings that you had of the cartoons you did?
Oh,
Eh? The
I still
painting you
have
did
them.
of you?
they're over there.
And the painting you did of you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that was when I was a model.
Yeah, but the drawings were when you were in
Oh,
his
no,
class.
in
school.
school, yeah, that's right. Well,
It's another story.
We were really pretty innocent when we met.
naive, very, very.
I'd only had one, what's her name, girlfriend.
Jean,
Yeah.
she was your dancing partner.
Strange that you should remember her name so quickly.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, that's what happened to her.
So you only had one other girlfriend before Mom?
Well, no, not really. I remember when I was going to Legal Road School when I was in grade 8. There was a little girl named Audrey Clegg, and I went out and I saved my money and I bought her a 50-pound chain box of chocolates. I stood in the school, in the playground, waiting for her to come out of school on Valentine's Day. And I waited and I waited. She's gone out the front door. I was at the back door in the schoolyard. So I went.
I know.
I went round to the back and I ate all the chocolates and threw the box away.
Oh, that was the thrill, wasn't it?
Oh, wow.
Ah.
I remember her name. I know exactly where she lives to this day. I really, she was just a little picture with me. Audrey Clegg.
It was like little.
I like little people, yeah.
Little girls.
I grew up with a puppet so long, I like little people, you know.
And then who was Jean?
Jean was a dancer. Well, she was a student at Morris Walkoff when I first started dancing. And then we became very good friends. She was a ballroom, she was my ballroom partner for a while. And then she got mad at me because I was spending too much time with women. So that was that.
And who were your previous boyfriends?
I didn't have any. Just the,
Right, Johnson.
just those
School.
that I
School.
mentioned in school. Gee, I started going with them when I was 16, so I really didn't have any boyfriends.
Her mother wouldn't let her go out with anybody before that.
Well, he was really my first serious boyfriend.
We were great friends, too. We were good,
Yeah, we
good,
really
good
were.
talkers. We all kinds of things. We could talk. We still can. We still can. Oh, I go on for hours.
I still do.
Disagreeing about what we talked about back then.
After the war came out, he was going to come out of the Air Force, and then I got really frightened because I knew I was going to have to live with this guy, and
You gotta go back. What you mean by really frightened was you were frightened because you didn't want to get married. You really didn't want to get
no, I
married.
really didn't want it.
You were ready to turn back and let me
I
to your
said, in
brother.
the car, I said to my brother,
On the way to the
On
wedding?
the way to
Yeah.
the wedding.
I said, I don't want to get married, and I don't love him, I don't want to get married, and he said, I remember him going, it's okay, kid. He went like that, and so what can I do? I was trapped. And so, when the time came for us to be married, I mean, to really, in the same place together every day.
Accept the responsibilities.
I said again, I really don't want, I don't love you, and I don't want to do this.
So what was your response to that?
I'll tell you what his response was. You can remember what you said?
Probably said, let's go to bed.
No, he said, you'll learn to love me. That's what he said.
Yeah, but you did all right.
Well, I didn't know. I was frightened.
But did it scare you when she said that?
No, not really. I had a tremendous amount of self-confidence. I knew everything was going to be okay. Yeah.
Well, we had to go and make a living. Was that when we started and got that studio and we started to make the come apart toys and the lamps and all that
Yeah,
stuff?
but before that, I wasted all my severance pay for
Oh,
service
yeah. Oh,
trying to become
yeah.
a dancer again.
Oh, yes. That was at his, what do
I
you?
took my veterans allowance after the war,
VA.
my 4.5 years of allowance. Instead of going to college, I went back and tried to become a dancer again. And it was 5 years and 20 pounds and a war injury later. I forgot it. But so then after we realized the writing was on the wall, we had to start doing something. And then we got a studio and started making come apart toys. Out of wood, and a bandsaw, a whole bunch of wood.
Like puzzles?
They were like
Puzzles,
children's
yeah.
3D puzzles. So we did Humpty Dumpty and all kinds of stuff. And they were big blocky pieces I cut out on the bandsaw. And they were in the kids. They were sort of preschool toys that kids learned to put together.
We made lamps. We made nursery lamps.
Nursery lamps.
And
The little figures. Mom did the figures and put real costumes on Bo Peep lamps.
and then we made a rabbit. that was like a puppet.
An
And clown
animated.
puppets, animated, marionette. And the Eaton's, the big department store in Toronto, gave us a big order. And so in order to sell them in the toy department, we made an animated display, and John put it on a turntable so that, and the puppet was supported from above. And so when you turned the turntable on, the puppet,
There were rubber
the puppet
stops on the top of the
was
table.
moving and
Every
doing
time
it
the
and
puppet's feet
dancing.
would come around,
And-
they would hit these things, and the puppet would stand there. And it was a marionette with a control, and I had spring-loaded springs on it, very lightweight springs. And so every time the feet would kick up, the thing would be
It would
dancing.
do movement. And the display director in that store saw it. And he thought that was the greatest thing. So he called us up and he said, would you do 10 windows with puppets,
with
animated puppets in them?
Animated marionettes.
And so we said, yes, and we lived.
Yeah, 'cause we were struggling, we were selling these little marionettes for $5.95 or something, and they were making 100% markup on that. So we were really doing it for
Where
peanuts.
had we moved to Weston?
We were in
by then?
Weston, we
That
were in
means we
Weston.
had 2 babies.
Yes, yeah. And Peter was 9 months old, crawling around the floor, and we turned one of the rooms into a studio. And then we made all these huge frames, like theater sets, and then we had to make all these figures to sit into them. And then I had to go buy motors to animate them, all these geared down motors and swing motors and slow animation.
And they were terrific.
So you did 10 windows.
We did 10 we built all these things in a 5-room apartment. And every night, before we went, we'd have to take these frames off the bed and after we bathed the 2 kids, we'd put them over the bathtub. We'd line them up along the bathtub, on the top of the toilet tank, out in the hall, everywhere to stack them. And so that the next morning we could get back to it again. And so we lived with this for 5 months. And we didn't have any money at all. And we had this contract from I don't know, about $1,400. It's peanuts at that time. And we went into the bank to borrow some money on this contract. And we found this wonderful bank manager who looked at us, and we were just so enthusiastic, and he just had good confidence in us to give. So we got the money, and we did this job, and it was just super. It really worked out very well.
Okay, so in one there was a little girl on a swing, and a little boy pushing the swing. And another one there were 2 cavaliers doing dueling the sword fight. And then in the big corner window of the Eaton's, we had 4 figures, and they were done in the Georgian style with the white wigs and the beautiful costumes with the big full skirts, and the man had white wigs and
velvet jacket, satin tights, satin.
And he bowed like this. He bowed like this. And the woman, she had a fan, and she turned on a turn.
And every time she came face to face with him, he bowed to her.
And it was a beautiful window. And in that same window were models with French fashion, the newest fashion clothes on.
Mannequins?
Mannequins
in the window.
The latest French fashion.
Oh, Rusty, what's his name? Rusty Fellows, who was the display director, was just delighted and so pleased with this display. So one morning we get a call. And he said, you get down here right away. He said, the window is on fire. and it burned up. And oh God, it was terrible. We went down there, and we saw the puppet that had the beautiful lame, the woman with her lame skirt. It was kind of burned up. So you could imagine she was turning like this with her fan, and he was bowing into the flames.
his nose and face all charred.
And so, but somebody had come in there, and they brought a fire extinguisher.
Chemical fire extinguisher. All over the French models. They had 2-inch French felt padding on the floor, and they got acid foam.
But it wasn't our fault, because the guy who told us the motor in the fan
They put the fan on, they put the
reversed.
circulating fan on the back of the motor on the wrong way. So instead of pulling cold air into the motor, it was pulling hot air into the motor.
I don't know how it went. It wasn't that bad.
It overheated.
It really wasn't that bad. All he wanted us to do was replace the puppet costume because it wasn't really that bad. It just sounded very, very
No, but the
bad.
insurance company,
But then they
the
wouldn't
fire department wouldn't let us turn the motors on.
turn the motors on the
So
rest.
they were so worried, but there were 10 windows there, you know.
10 windows, so we did. But that was after we'd done the Berks Ellis Ryrie display. I mean, at that time we had gone into display work, you know. And we were doing store windows, doing things, just big displays. So, yeah, you know, there's so many stories about those.
But we were doing puppet shows and store windows.
Yeah, and the promenade where they sold records, and they puppeted Frank Sinatra and singing and other famous singers, didn't they?
Advertising RCA Victor.
And that is when
First radio that came out after the war.
That's when I was pregnant with
That's right.
Nina.
Nina.
See? Oh, the first, that was Nina.
46.
So is it easy to work together?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because, yes, we really worked well together, because I did the artwork, and he was a technician, so it worked very well.
Yeah.
That was just the beginning of a very long career of getting into the puppets and television.
So, but back then, like, I imagine there were things where you learned that you didn't like certain qualities about each other, things that were hard.
No, I didn't. Well, I mean, not.
Well, I got frustrated sometimes, I think.
Well, that was later.
Later.
You
A
really-
bit of a perfectionist, you know. when it-
Not in the early years.
No,
We
not
were-
here.
We were so excited and everything was new and
We
everything
were
was a
trying to
challenge.
make
And
some
we were,
bucks.
sure, we had 2 kids. to
Because
keep-
we had children to
Feed.
feed,
We
and
were working so hard, at one point, we were cashing in milk bottles to buy bananas and milk, you know, for the kids, because our income was so uncertain, and I didn't want to work.
we
for a living.
really struggled. We really struggled, and we wanted to move out into the country. And so we had space and so forth. So the way we did that was that we got very, very big assignments to do for Eaton's and Simpson's. When the Queen was going to be coronated, we got a big job. Rusty Fellows gave us this big job to do for the corner window at College Street in Young, right in the big window of the we had already done some big displays for him, hadn't we, with pieces of mirror. We'd done 10 famous cathedrals in the
Scale
world, models made with little pieces of mosaic mirror, and they were gorgeous, and they were Christmas windows, and we'd done other displays for the Christmas windows. This big year was 1954, do you think?
Which one?
When the Queen
51.
51. And we did the facade of the Buckingham Palace. We did the Queen on her horse with all her entourage, and
140 Grenadier Guards marching past her, and she's taking a salute on her birthday.
okay.
In front of her palace.
So are these all in mirror as well?
All in gold
Gold mirror.
mirror. And the Victoria Memorial
Queen
with
Victoria.
Queen
Huge
Victoria with the lions and the whole thing in front of Buckingham Palace. Have you been to London?
No.
Okay. So, well, it's all there. And we did the whole thing in gold mirror. That means that all the figures have to be mirrored and sprayed with
Gold lacquer.
gold lacquer. So everything was fantastic, the whole mirror.
We figure there are about 50,000 pieces of hand-cut mirror in the front, the facade of the Buckingham Palace, which was 22 feet long, about 6 feet high. And it was absolutely done to scale, modeled all all the figures on the front of it, and all the sculpture on the gargoyles and everything hanging around over it. And it was all done all gilded after the whole thing. And it's just,
Yeah,
they put lights-
but the problem about getting it, the gold lacquer to not,
not oxidized.
oxidize,
Yeah,
because that's what happened, and the deadline was coming up.
It was turning green or
Closer.
something?
It would turn
turning
brown,
Oh.
and so the figures were beautiful and so forth, and they were mirrored. The mirror was sprayed on them, but then that had to be sealed with the gold lacquer. And so we would mix up some stuff, and then we'd spray them, and then the next morning we'd come, and they were all turned brown.
We had to wash them all
It was
off.
terrible, and then, so finally, we're getting closer and closer to the deadline, and we had to get the stuff delivered to the store. And finally, we came up with a formula that it hadn't turned brown. And so that was fine, so we sprayed everything, we got it in the window. It was absolutely, really gorgeous. We have photographs of it.
So when you were building these, it sounds like you really took a lot of pride in the work. Did you have some emotional connection to the fact that this woman was becoming queen? Was that part of
No.
it?
I don't
No,
think so.
we knew her from the time she was
Yeah.
5 or 6 years old when she came to Canada before the war.
So it wasn't patriotic?
It was quite,
Well,
it
yeah,
was an honor.
We had an affinity with her
No.
because we were Canadians and she was the queen and we were British
And it was
subjects.
an honor to
Oh, yeah.
be doing this tremendous
But
job.
and of course, another thing too, that the Eaton company for whom we did this job, that the old man when he died, he said, he left one thing in his will, they could not open the curtains on the windows on Sundays.
Oh.
And because of this job that we did, they got around it. The trustees went to legal and had it set aside because
Well,
it was so
that
spectacular.
were all our windows. So was that big altar.
Was
I
it-
did the mother,
The Botticelli mother and
Botticelli
child.
mother and
priest.
child, huge, big window.
The
that we
windows
did.
and the cathedrals, we
And
did the 10
cathedral.
cathedrals. They were so spectacular that they
They left
got
the
permission to
windows.
open the windows from the trustees to open the windows on
Yeah.
Sunday.
So-
And they attract. But while we were doing this Buckingham Palace job, we were also making a
Yeah.
14-foot tall
Yeah,
replica of the King Edward's crown, which she wore for her coronation.
yeah.
And this was a huge thing. This also was done with pieces of 2-inch square pieces of mirror, mosaic all over this. And it was a
We had to
huge
make
job.
the jewels and the pearls that go with this.
Was this displayed indoors or outdoors?
Outside, over the
14
main
feet tall.
entrance on
Okay.
Young Street.
And so we knew it had to be substantial. It had to be made out of tin.
Galvanized steel.
Steel. So he had to, he never learned to weld.
No, I know, but
Well,
I-
first he soldered. I drew it out.
She drew it out, I laid it all out, made
Laid
these
it
huge
out.
patterns. They were almost 12 feet tall, the curve of the crown coming down.
And it was made out of
this
metal
stuff.
or?
It was made out of sheet metal.
Sheet metal.
I soldered it all
Soldered.
together, and then we stood it up on end.
And it-
And the weight of it was so much that the solder started to come on it, and it, like somebody had unzipped, the whole thing collapsed on the floor.
And
And so I had to start all over again. I had to go out and buy a welding outfit, welding torches, welding the meters and the tanks. I had to teach myself to weld. And so I welded this whole thing together.
And he was sort of inside this thing because it was in dimensions. It's big, when you think about how big this thing would be. So he's inside and he's welding this thing. And one Sunday, I had made this wonderful roast beef dinner, roast potatoes at home, and a wonderful dinner. My brother Albert came for dinner, and he came home and he was so sick. He poisoned himself with all the
Fumes.
gas, the fumes from this thing. I remember that. Oh,
I was wearing the goggles, but I forgot about the fuse.
breathing
Those
in the-
days, nobody cared about, toxic.
But anyway,
toxic
we did get that thing done. But the funny story about this, the crown
Yeah.
with the orchid, the big.
No, before that.
What?
We finally, it got so big, we had to move it out of the studio
Oh,
into
yeah,
the
I
parking
saw
lot
it.
to finish it.
Uh-huh.
And the parking lot was right by a commuter train station.
The
And every day,
on the
people would
train.
come by in the commuter and they would look out to see how the
They'd wave.
they'd wave and they were watching the progress of this thing. About 3 days before it was due to be taken downtown and installed, we had the worst
Well,
storm.
first of all, we had to tell him that what we were worried about, I had made, there's ermine all around the bottom of this,
Big ermine cushion that the
Cushion.
crown sits in.
no, it's
Around
like,
around the base of the crown.
around the base of it. It's ermine with black tails.
The real
And I
ermine
had to
cushion.
make that out of something, right? So I had spray paint and I had white flocking. So I dropped the white flocking and sprayed with paint so that it would stick and build up into like a furry thing.
Uh-huh.
And then paint the black tails on after. And then but also this orbit that goes on the top. The great thing was we didn't know how to do that.
It's a big ball, a jewel, a big ball like this, and it has a cross on the top made of gold with pearls, 2 huge pearls hanging from it. This is in the actual crown. We had to duplicate this. And so we had to make this big ball which sat on the top of the crown. We bought a beach ball.
Beach ball to start with. And
Glue the beach ball on, just exactly the right diameter for the scale.
And so, at that time, we were using something called Celastic, which is an impregnated felt.
Plastic impregnated felt, which you dip into acetone,
Acetone.
and then you drape it over something, and it sets hard in about 20 minutes.
And so what we were gonna do is put plaster on top of that.
No.
Well, first-
No, we covered the ball, we covered this plastic
So
beach ball with this elastic, and then we went back, we finished for the day, we went back. Next morning we came in. What had happened was, the acetone, which is so cold when it dries rapidly, had shrunk the hot air inside the balloon.
So
And
we
so
were
it looked
getting-
like a huge pumpkin instead of a ball. It was all indented all the way around.
And so we knew, but we only had so much time, another deadline.
Oh, God, yeah, we were
So we
crazy.
started putting plaster on.
To smooth it all out, to make it beautiful.
So we had to build it up with plaster, so the thing
It's
got
heavy.
heavier and
And
heavier.
then I had covered
we had
over
to
with
cover
mirror,
with mirror,
glass, which is heavy.
which was heavier and heavier and heavier. So we had to deliver this great big thing
Yeah, but
down.
before that happened, we had the whole thing assembled in the parking lot, and a night or 2 nights before we were to deliver it, we had a terrible windstorm came up. And oh God, we were so worried. I had everything tied down to the studio building. And the next day, people were coming up the driveway
To
to find out. People had been watching us build this thing to find out whether
It was
the
okay.
crown was okay. And it was fine. They sent a great big flatbed truck up and they took it down.
So the ball was on top already?
No,
No,
this was,
that
it
was
was all in pieces. So when we get down to Young Street, in
That
front of the
night,
store.
remember that night? Marty came down with us, and we watched you climbing
Oh, yeah.
up that ladder with this great big thing.
Yeah, weighing
wall,
60
trying to
pounds.
put this.
And I'm not trying to hoist this thing up, and I had a pole up the middle, and I had to get it just balanced so I could drop it down.
And then
Stabilize it.
we got it up there, and we had lights in behind the jewels.
So,
Now we're talking about at the Edens on top?
At the Edens,
You're already-
we were installing it for the opening the
And
next
the
day.
rubies and the emeralds and everything all around, and they had lights behind that, they were behind
And I
glass.
wired it all
And the
up, so the whole
pearls-
thing glowed,
And the pearls were
4-inch beach balls.
balls that we had bought and sprayed with pearl essence. And it was really spectacular crown, and it was up there. And then, that too, we went home, and then there was and they had
Terrible stuff.
banners that someone else
40-foot
had made,
long banners,
and hanging
gold-
up in the sky.
royal scarlet with gold lettering, with E2,
And
E2R on them.
we
Those are the
had a
second.
big storm with a lot of wind again.
Half
and
half the banners
God,
flew
we were
off and blew
worried
out over
that
the
our
lake.
crown was gonna fall off and hurt and kill somebody. And so we rushed downtown to see what had happened, and it was still there, and we thought the ermine, especially the ermine, had been blown away, but it was still there.
No, it was well made.
But the banners, a lot of them had been destroyed. But that was,
That weekend, they had so much traffic on there, they had to stop the traffic because there were so many people coming
Just come
downtown
and
to
see
see
the
the display.
and the Queen and
And
the other store where we
they
had
had-
done the gold.
They had to put the cops out, because people were backing right out on the road, trying to see into the window where we put this Buckingham Palace thing. It was.
And
it
so
was quite
also other stores had,
Oh, yeah,
and Simpson, they
All right,
had
well,
big
look at
display.
Yeah, my mother did a lot of stuff for them.
Yeah, so it was, And then we did a big display in Weston where we lived.
Yeah, I
At
got
that time, we did,
yeah, we got the contract to do the coronation display for the town of Weston all.
At the very same time.
At the same time.
we were doing
Yeah,
all
we
that.
got really-
Plus I had 2 kids.
1:30, 2 o'clock every morning for about 5, 6 weeks.
No, that was the beginning of this intense career we had together. That was really the beginning of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then the following Easter, we did this huge
Animation.
Easter bunny animation for Eaton's. We had 35 animations in the one-quarter window. And I didn't know any about animations. I had all jerry-rigged with wires and chewing gum and, bobby pins and,
Gears and trying to.
So we got it
everything
done, we got the window open, and it was spectacular, it really looked
They
great.
spent 2 weeks
I spent
under
next
the
2 weeks
stage,
lying under the stage.
keeping it going because
Making sure that this would stop and that would stop. Yeah,
But that was,
yeah, we had fun.
did you know about that?
No, you see, you have told these stories so many times to Nina and Peter that a lot of them I've never heard.
I don't know whether we told them.
Oh, what about being underneath the stage?
Well, Nina and Peter worked with us, when we were doing the glass, the mirror
Oh,
for Simpsons, we did 40 columns on the main floor of Simpsons in big panels of red mirror, which had been smashed. We developed a technique of putting backing on the mirror, a cloth backing on
and
the mirror,
then taking a hammer
and
and
taking a ball
smashing.
peen hammer and smashing it to make
designs.
daisies. And then we would lacquer over, we sprayed lacquer over it. And for the Christmas, we did 40 columns, so like 4 sides of each columns on the main floor of the store. And these things were all done with red lacquer, because it was, Christmas when they hung their Christmas trees and stuff like that. And that was a crazy job. So the point is that we had Nina and Peter, we had goggles, and they were over in our studio with ball peen hammers, helping break the glass, because we had so many things, so many to do.
Anyway, it was fun.
Yeah,
That was the start of
That
this.
was a lot of fun. to
Started
smash
as slave
glass,
labor.
Smash.
Oh, yeah,
glass.
it was a big,
They
it was
love that.
a big release of hitting plate and mirrors, Maybe that's why they had all this bad luck.
But when I was, that gave us the down payment to put on this 54-acre farm that we bought. We didn't make much money, but that's how we.
It was 54 acres.
Yep.
You agree on that?
And the farm.
54 acres.
That's where you were born.
Yeah.
When you were born. I'm there.
54.
So that leading.
How did you make the transition from doing displays to puppets?
Well, this job came along by, is that right?
Yeah,
Your mother had made a contact with somebody in the television,
your grandmother.
your
Your
grandmother, to do a show called Maggie Muggins. And
This is
she
the opening
really-
year of CBC television,
And
1952.
somehow she couldn't do it alone. She asked us if
She was working in the display department.
we could make the puppets, and so we were on a tour, weren't we, for Shell Oil?
Yes.
With puppets.
Okay, so that Shell Oil then,
Came first,
was that your
I guess.
transition?
Well, they came almost the
Almost
same
the same time.
She-
So we made the puppets for the television, and we got the contract, and that was the beginning of our television career. And at the same time, we were doing some puppets. I don't know which came first, for Shell Oil Company, and we had a company in English and a company in French.
Yeah. We toured every summer across Canada for 8 years. That ran concurrent with our TV commitments. We did that for 8 years. It was one show, the first show we did for 8 seasons. And then we went on, we had all kinds, one after
other
another.
shows. We started getting other shows. They offered us other shows.
So did you bring as much pride to the puppet shows?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Sure. Oh,
Yeah, we love what we were doing.
We
loved doing what
we
we were
brought
doing. It was a
pride to
challenge.
everything, every job that we did. With integrity, I would say, we tried to do the very best we could.
No, we had fun.
but it was fun.
I think
And we
the main-
said that when it stopped being fun,
we were out of it.
that we wouldn't do it anymore, which it did come about at one point.
So.
But, oh, she tried to
That's
get
not the
out.
dog.
Oh, it's a cat.
Oh, the cat. Stop it. Oh, yeah, she's back.
So do you have any disaster stories, like the fire story in the puppetry on the TV stuff?
Oh my God, yeah. I remember one time, Maggie Muggins, that show, and we had two shows going, two 15-minute shows going, back to back, live. We're doing Maggie Muggins.
That goes off, that goes to black. We went across the studio to do the next show.
To do the next
which
show.
was another set.
Which was called Old Testament Tales. Okay. And this particular story this time was about Abraham and Isaac.
Isaac, the sacrifice.
The sacrifice of Isaac.
Abraham
And so
sacrificing his son.
we had an assistant puppeteer, John Botterill, a good friend, and he was puppeteer with us at that time. And he was waiting on the other set to do the show. And our puppets were all hanging there because they were marionettes with nylon strings.
But you couldn't see the strings on the camera. Clear nylon.
And so
part of the Old Testament tale was where Abraham takes Isaac and puts him on the sacrificial altar, and he's going to crucify him because God told him to.
Right.
And where this altar is, there's a flame.
it comes out of
It comes
a
out of a
big
big urn.
And so just as we're finishing up the Maggie Muggins show, I look over to the other set, and the guy is just lighting with gas, stagehand is lighting the gas for the flame to come up. And it was turned up too high. And so what happened was that Isaac, who was hanging there, his strings melted, and he started to
shot right out of his strings.
And he burned him.
There's one string, so two strings
And
out.
that was the puppet I was going to have to operate, right? And so we're trying to finish this show, and we see our friend whose hand shakes a lot, and we see him trying to tie up the strings on the puppet, his hand shaking like this. It was terrible.
We got 2 minutes, 30 seconds transition from one show to the next.
But when I ran down from the bridge and up to the other bridge on the other side, my puppets are kind of like this, and I had to try to compensate when I operated it. We got through it okay, but it was very, very frightening, as you can imagine, because they can't stop. Nobody can stop anything because it's live. It's going to start.
No tape in those days.
And the other time was when we were doing another show, and it was a music show. And David Otterloni was a music teacher, a pianist. He taught music, and the two wonderful little puppets that we had made. One was a clarinet, and this cute little head on a clarinet, and he had arms and hands, and he played. And it was live music with a clarinetist and a cello. And John's puppet was a cello that had a cute little head and a cello, and he played himself. And they had voices, and they taught. And it was a very nice little show.
Music appreciation show. Love it.
Music appreciation. So the show is going on, and we have monitors that we can see while we're working the puppet. And I'm looking in the monitor, and all of a sudden, I see the head of my puppet. It had become loose from the screw, and it had floated above the...
It was floating right out into the camera.
So our producer,
Panic time.
she saw what happened, and so she moved the camera
panned it over,
and I had to pull the puppet up and put it together and try to get it, and then I had to be very, very careful.
The rest of the show.
Very, very for the rest of the show. But that was another really embarrassing and scary moment in television. But we we had lots of little things like that happen when you're working in live television. But how many years did we do television? How many?
14.
We had a lot of shows. Well, as commercials, and we were educational television too. We did a lot of shows.
So when you got to shows like Razzle Dazzle, it seemed like up to that point your roles had always been equal. But then when you got to Razzle Dazzle, suddenly you were the main puppeteer because you did Howard the Turtle.
Yeah, but we really didn't make any difference because they were interchangeable. Because while we were doing Razzle Dazzle, every 2 weeks we were doing a 12-minute special for which we had to write the material, create the puppets, rehearse them, and bring them on into the studio. So Mum was very involved in that. You know, so we were involved all the way down, right down to the wire.
But the Howard the Turtle did become a very well-known and popular character in Canada, and people still, you know, when they hear he's Howard the Turtle, oh my, they can't believe it. You know.
So there was no like envy on your part that he was Howard the Turtle?
No, I was proud of that.
The children's show.
That was
very,
I
Howard,
thought that
Howard was very popular. He got 12,000 letters one week. They had to hire extra staff.
I made the puppet, so out of an old sock, so I felt I was part of that.
The character
my
was
soul was in it.
Yeah.
And so
that was her character, and I just voiced
it. The personality. And so.
I mean, that was fun. We did that for 5 years, and then comes time for a change. And we were happy to get out of it. You know,
yeah, I think so. Because then this Expo
67,
show
Montreal.
In Montreal.
So just before you get to it, all the TV shows were stopped themselves. You never said, "Oh, we're bored of this show. We don't want to do it anymore."
No.
So they all kind of ran their own.
Yeah,
they ran their course.
Lifespan.
Yeah, they ran their course. But I mean, 8 years for one show, 5 years for another. Friendly Giant was on
we
for
were
23
glad when
years.
we finished. But while we were doing those shows, were we working on the Expo show?
I had been on a show for Expo. And, we won out over several Americans and a couple of Canadian winners.
I wonder why.
I wonder why.
And so we rented a big studio so that we could create puppets for this Expo 67. With 50, we were sponsored by 50 breweries. And
Canadian Brewers Association.
Yeah.
They built $1.5 million pavilion with a theater and a restaurant. And we contracted to produce the puppet show for the 250-seat circular theater. And we worked on that for almost 2 years.
Yeah, but at the same time, the CBC came to us and they wanted us to do two puppets, life-size, and Geneviève Goujon was in this. It was the first color, the first color drama ever on CBC. And so I made these puppets. I did a portrait of her, and it was on the cover of the CBC Times, and we still have it. And it was a very important event, wasn't it? Because it was history.
First color drama.
History.
It was broadcast. It was simulcast in French and English out of Montreal and Toronto, the same hour.
And it was directed by Paul Almond, and Geneviève Goujon was in it. And it was, so we did that show while we were doing the Expo thing. And by the time that came about, I was really burned out.
That Expo arrived. Was it fun at first when you were working on it and designing it?
Yeah, it was a challenge when we were first doing it. I mean, I was designing all the puppets
but I still had children to look after.
Three now.
And so it was a lot for me. And so after I just said, I quit.
Well, let's talk about Expo a little bit more. What was so hard about it?
Well, it was just time consuming. It was nerve wracking. It was a very big show. We had 30 people, puppeteers and stagehands on staff doing shift work, and having to keep it running 25 shows a day, 7 days a week for 6.5 months. It was really boring. There was no pleasure. There was no creative pleasure out of it once it got started.
We had to move to Montreal,
But what we hadn't talked about before we even got to that was when Martin was born out of the farm, and we had in 1960.
We didn't even talk about
we built the theater.
We built that wonderful theater on the farm when you were just tiny.
So this was the first permanent Canadian puppet theater?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, sort of temporarily permanent.
Oh yeah, it was very successful.
I mean, I remember those little theaters outside that kids could
That's right. Yeah.
work puppets themselves.
Oh, that was a wonderful. That was a labor of love. That really was. I mean, compared to Expo, building our own theater on the farm was just such a challenge, and was so creative, and we just, because we were totally in artistic control, we could do whatever we wanted. It was beautiful, 14-foot diameter revolving stage, so that the marionettes would walk in place, and the whole set would change. And they'd walk from one setting into the other, and all we did was in the back was just turn the stage very slowly, and the puppet would walk talking from one set to the next. And God, it was so much fun. We had a lovely little courtyard patio for the summer theater, and people would come and sit under the umbrellas and sit and have drinks and junk food, and we had it all set up inside, and the theater was a permanent building, but the auditorium was a tent because it was a summer theater operation. And up in the rafters where the tent was supported, we had puppets sitting, and were remote controlled. They had their own microphone, their own speaker, so the puppeteer could work backstage and talk about them, and he could manipulate them with strings that were 65 feet long down inside, so he could
called Smart Alex.
He was called Smart.
That was the name of the character?
In the tree. And so the kids would look up, and this little puppet would be there talking down to them like this.
And he could look at
magic,
the operator.
absolutely magic.
The voice could look out through the hole, and he could see, and he could talk, hey, yeah, you kid, you in the yellow sweater. And, so it was really, to have this little finger sitting up there,
really
waving at them and talking, and big smart,
we got very, very good write-ups of our theater and country. Very good publicity.
The things I remember that big fountain out front.
Yeah, we made that.
You made that?
Yeah,
What, the sign?
The fountain.
Oh, the fountain.
The fountain.
Oh, yeah, we made that. We made everything. We made the great big wooden sign that was outside the Canadian Puppet Theater. Remember, I have a picture of you standing
inside it.
There's a movie of that too. What was the story when there was the big storm and the tent blew away?
Yeah, it blew down.
We had a storm one at the end of the weekend, and it shredded the tent roof, and all that was left was just the walls of the tent and the seats all lined up, and it didn't make any difference.
Show went on.
The next weekend was just one of those freak things. But then we had the Metro Parks Commissioner came out to see the show. He was so impressed with it. He said, "You should come over to the Center Island.
We want it over there.
We want you over at Center Island, which was one of the big islands down in front of downtown Toronto." And he said, "We'll build you a beautiful theater. We'll guarantee you got 30,000 people there on the weekend." And we were so far out in the boondocks with the farm, we were lucky to get 150 people for the show. So it sounded so good, and we knew we were going to have to replace the tent, and so we decided, okay, we'll go over it. And so then we decided, while they were getting this passed through the Metro Council, that we would set up a temporary theater over at the island while we were waiting for them to build a permanent one. So we went, and we had benches built to seat 400 people, and we built a temporary this Dexian, and, this sheet of metal that holds the bolt things together, you make shells with. We built this huge thing, and we took it over on a barge over to the island, and set it all up. And the opening day, we had this wonderful theater, and it was a gorgeous day, and there must have been 10, 12,000 people on this island out there picnicking and kicking the football around. But none of them had any money.
Yeah, you charged 35 cents.
Yeah, quarter, it was a quarter. We charged a quarter. We were charging $1.25 for admission to our theater on the farm, and we were getting a full house. We were charging a quarter of the island, and we were lucky to get, quarter filled. But it went on, and then the following
But
year.
you forgot what happened. That in the first week, we came in one day, and the place had been vandalized.
Somebody
And
broke it in.
boy, did we
And
have publicity in the newspaper about that.
They thrown the puppets into the lagoon behind the theater.
Well,
Some of them, yeah,
some-
a couple of them.
And our
The
tape-
French poodles, they'd
and
stolen the
paint-
tape recorder.
paint was- I don't know, I
They
can't.
just came in.
It was just some nasty little vandalism, but it gave us great publicity.
And everybody knew about it.
Everybody,
Well,
so
actually-
then we started really getting people.
But then what happened, so then that woke the council, the Metro Council up, and they decided that they would go ahead and put in a permanent theater for us. So then the next year, we went with a temporary one. But by that time, we were into.
But we went to
touring
Prince Edward Island for the,
Yeah.
for the opening of the Confederation
Center in Charlottetown.
Center.
With
We did a big puppet show over there, and
Cannon's
you,
100th birthday.
we took you there.
You were with us?
You
I remember.
Yeah.
remember that?
You were what,
And
six, seven?
the other children were involved in the actual operation
Yeah.
of the show, of the puppets.
So they built the permanent theater, but you never took
No,
it?
no, we left
We
some
never-
people to run the theater on the island while we went down and did the show down
We
there.
never did get into the permanent puppet theater after that.
And then when we came back, by the time we came back, we had bid on the expo job, and we were into that. And then, it took a couple of years before they finally, metropolitan governments went very, very slowly. And so by the time they decided they were gonna start building it, we had lost so much money in the operation, we said, forget it. It looked great on paper, in theory, but it just didn't work out.
I was very anxious to do something very artistic. And I had felt that I had been doing just commercial work for so long. So that at expo time, I just was very, very tired and burned out. And I said, I'm quitting. I don't want to do anymore. I was really depressed. And so John's answer was, I'll quit too. Okay. I thought he was going to say, oh, I'll support you, dear, it's okay. But it didn't work that way. And
You would have known me by then.
because I was so tired and really, we decided we had to take a vacation. We had taken very few vacations. And we decided to go to the West Indies for a vacation because, we had our friends, the Ratsies, who was a principal of the teachers college down there. So we went away to stay away for about a month. But we did take some puppets with us. I don't know why we thought of doing, Jim asked us to bring them, right? So
That's right. Those are
that's,
pencils. He said, bring puppets and
Bring
pencils.
puppets and pencils, that's right, yeah.
puppets and pencils.
That's right.
So that was the beginning of, the end, so to speak, of
Well, the change in our
of
lives.
the change in our lives.
So when you left Canada, you hadn't sold the house yet.
Not at that time, but I
So
think.
when you left, you didn't know how long you were leaving for. You might return, you might not.
We did
No,
sell it.
we sold the house in Toronto and put all our stuff in storage. The house in the farm, we had sold that.
Oh, yeah.
We
But
sold it.
which one
We
did
came
you
back.
sell first, the Rosedale house or the farm?
I can't remember. Anymore, we came back and got rid of everything finally. We stored it all.
At that time, we were doing a lot of commercials for Nessie's Quick. We did a big series of commercials, and So, yeah, we were returning to do commercials sometimes.
Yeah, that was very good. We did almost,
I think that maybe we could continue this and another time.
Take a break.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Good
there's
transition.
too many stories to tell. I'm tired.
I got beat. Okay, here, I'll fade out. Fade.
fade out before we do.
And it's so long, we didn't come along,
That's not long for us.
Sunday.
Are we gonna do it here?
So what's the date today? April 7th?
I don't know. What day were you gonna leave?
Well, it's today.
Well, it must be the 7th then.
Okay, we're filming. It's up to you now.
Well,
I'm going. Bye.
well, here we are in our garden, in our patio. Up the beautiful house. And this is where we landed. We went to the West Indies first.
Why did you go to the West Indies?
Oh, well, that was when we were
Escape.
so tired and I wanted to quit. So we went down for a vacation, supposedly for a month. And we took you. We were 10 years old. And we,
Stayed 6 months instead.
yes, we had taken some puppets. And the first thing that happened was that we landed in a beautiful home. We were going to be overlooking the sea, the yachts. We thought we'd die and gone to heaven. We landed on my birthday.
That's right. We had the big sign at the airport that said, "Happy birthday, Linda."
Yeah. We came to this house and there was a maid there and her uniform and bare feet, Dorcas and
Elba.
she had made a marvelous dinner for us. Roast lamb, Christophine, which is prickly pear. Here. No, what do they call it? And with the cheese sauce, and I just remember the whole thing so clearly.
Chayote.
Chayote.
So here you had quit. You had taken this big risk to quit. And if I remember right, 3 days later we did a puppet show up at the governor's mansion.
Yeah. Well, this what was he? He came on a motorcycle with his white gloves,
St. Nicholas.
uniform.
It's Christmas.
Yes, but who was the man who came? He was one of their messengers.
Oh.
The messenger from the governor's mansion came with a white envelope and handed it to us. And that was to do a command performance at the Christmas party. And it was quite a surprise. We didn't know that we were going to have to work so soon. But we did that. We went down there. We did this show, which I recorded on camera, took photographs of. There were no video cameras those days.
So I remember that you used to go out for hours swimming.
Yeah, loved it. Just snorkel all the time. It's so clear. It was really wonderful. And after a while, it got very hot. It got very hot and very humid.
Yeah, but we did a lot of things while we were there.
Yeah.
Well, we became friendly with a pediatrician on the island and his wife, who was a social worker. And she took us into the back country to show us what was going on back there. And she asked us if we would create a puppet show, to teach hygiene and birth control.
Family planning.
Really?
Yeah. They didn't want to call it that then.
So we made I made these puppets, grandmother and the baby and the big germ and that we were going to do the show. And I remember I made a beautiful black grandmother and I had it sitting on a shelf. And one day I looked at it and on all these little white marks all over the face. And I couldn't figure out what. And later we found out that I had used cassava starch because there was no paste there. I'd done paper mache with cassava starch. And termites were eating it. I was designing crafts, handicrafts for them. And we got a big tin, and we had made dye, and we were dyeing raffia so that I could weave these rugs. I don't know. It was just something. We just couldn't seem to sit down and lie down and relax. We kept working. And you were put in school in the town. We did some shows with you at the schools. When I came to the orphanage to do some shows there, we got flat tire.
Well, I remember the shows we did at the school. We did 3 shows, one after the other, for 1,400 children in the public school there. And it was so hot. It was about 95, and we just kept. And we ended up the afternoon. Both of us could hardly speak. Our voices were so hoarse.
Do you remember what happened when all the kids came in and the headmistress went in front of them all and said, "You all must sit completely still"?
Yeah, then we
And
came
they
up
were
with a
afraid
puppet.
to say anything. Then you came out with a clown.
I came up with JoJo and said, "Hey kids!" And nobody all sat there and said, "Hey kids, yeah, it's okay. You can say hello." And they all, "Hi!"
And then they really.
And she's standing there looking, very disciplinarian.
But
Oh yeah, but she.
They let go after a while because it was so much fun. They'd never seen anything like that.
The word. Yeah.
With all the animals, didn't we have
Yeah. Remember we went to the governor's mansion to do the Christmas party, and the donkey pulling the cart all covered with beautiful flowers came up, and here was St. Nicholas
with a
dressed
mask.
with a terrible plastic mask that was all mashed in where they'd stored it with his beard, and a Santa Claus outfit with a white hair, and then he had white gloves on, but the suit was too small for him from here to here with these big black wrists and the white gloves. And when he came, he went, "Ho, ho, ho," and he went to pick the kids up and scared the hell out of them, The kids were yelling and screaming at this terrible white Santa Claus. It was funny, wasn't it?
What was the high point of St. Vincent? Was there like one experience or one thing that happened?
Well, we used to love to go dancing at
The sugar mill.
The sugar mill, and that was a lot of fun. And we went to the big dance down in the town.
Oh, the big New Year's dance.
And it was very, very crowded. It was,
Jump up.
Oh,
The jump,
Carnival.
Carnival, yeah, that was, wow, we got very
Carnival,
involved in
yeah,
Carnival.
that was quite a high point.
We got involved with one of the bands, and we became very friendly with them, and we went to their workshop where they were creating all the masks and all the costumes, and then when the day of the big Carnival parade, and they do the jump up all through town from 12 to 14
We jumped,
hours.
remember
And when
jumping?
we were standing on the side watching the parade, and this band, we become to know quite well, they said, come on in, and then we went and we jumped up, and you jumped up for several blocks till we fell exhausted.
Someone hit him over the head.
Somebody hit him over with a
Coca-Cola
Coke
Rock.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola rock.
It was a rock.
Rock?
It came out of the sky and landed on my head.
Right.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, it was pretty roisterous, I must say. They had babies' bottles with nipples on there, drinking straight pure gin right out of the bottles. So it was a lot of fun.
We did some sailing. We
yeah.
went to Beckley.
Princess Margaret Beach, that was nice.
I don't know what the highest point. of living there. I just knew at some point that it got so hot and humid, we just decided that we had to leave.
Well, what was the low point?
Low point, I think, the low point was when you hyperventilated and we had to see the pediatrician to speak with you because you were very unhappy at that point. So that's the low point for us.
And then you got sick too, right? You got some infection.
Yes, I did. I got a very bad infection. Oh, God, you remember that?
Yeah.
And, well, that was just one of those tropical things. And I went to an Indian doctor there. I got cured. But then we decided that we would come to San Miguel.
Okay, well, hold on. Before we go to San Miguel. Okay, I hope we can hear you better.
Can't hear us because of all the bells. You just kicked the camera.
So now only Mom's in the picture.
We came to San Miguel because we knew it was a very beautiful town and it was an art colony. And I wanted to learn how to weld. I had never used that medium and I wanted to do that. And he wanted to take writing courses. So we made a reservation to stay in a hotel here. And we arrived in Mexico City. And we stayed a week in Mexico City. Saw them, did all the tourist things.
The bullfight, the archaeological museum, the pyramids.
And we did get sick.
Tell the story about getting robbed in Mexico.
Well,
That was when we went to the bullfight.
we took a taxi there.
Took a taxi to the bullfight with an arranged price from the hotel. And when we came out to get a taxi back to the hotel, they wanted about 3 times as much, and they wouldn't bargain down. So we said, "Oh, heck with that! They're just trying to rip us off." So we said, "We'll take a bus. It's all just straight down the Reforma, and the Avenue of Reforma." And so we got on the bus, and we were going along. It was fine. We were seeing all the sights all the way down the Avenue. You were there with us, and it came time for us to get off the bus. And so we pulled the cord for the bus to stop. And you were standing by the back door. We stepped down onto the treadle and opened the doors. And while you were standing there, Mom and I were over sitting on the, and when we started coming to the stop where we wanted to get off, there was a man standing behind you, started pushing you out of the door. The door was open and he started pushing you. And so I got up and went to grab for you because I thought you were going to fall out. And there was a lot of jostling went on, and finally we got off the bus and we stood there. And Mom said, "What was that all about?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know what it was all about." I said, "We'd just be ripped off." When I went forward to save you, the accomplice went behind me and slipped his hand in my pocket, took all my cash out of the pocket. And so we stood there as the bus disappeared. I'm going, our Spanish was
Señora, hola.
Ladrones. And everybody standing by the bus stop, they were laughing. It was a big joke. And of course, the bus driver, I'm sure, was in. This was a gang, and you get warned. So we learned our lesson after that. Then we went to the pyramids. We went to the pyramids, and it was very hot that day.
I wasn't feeling very well.
And we hired a taxi, a tour car to take us out. And this man had a beautiful 1954 Dodge, just spotless. I mean, because you couldn't buy new cars in Mexico at that time. And he had this, anything over 55, wasn't allowed into the country. So they kept these old cars spotless and, all covered with plastic inside. And every time we got out to look at something, he'd get out and he'd shine it up and polish it up. So we got to the pyramids. It was very hot. There was no shade. And you and I went up to the top of the pyramid. And Mom said, "Forget it." And she stayed down below. But there was no shade. And so finally we said, enough is enough. And we came down. And we got back. And Mom was turning a little bit green.
And I had newspapers.
So we had a local newspaper. And so here she was spreading newspapers all over her lap because she knew she was going to.
But this is back in the taxi.
Back in the taxi going home. And she was so worried, but this guy was so taxi proud, with a car proud with this car. And she was sitting there all the way home, and just greet her and greet her. We finally made it.
I made it. I held on.
She was so afraid. She was so afraid what the taxi driver would say if she barfed in his cab. And then we went to the bullfight. That was interesting. So Mom had her camera, her big Topcon camera, and so she had the camera. Well, she wasn't taking pictures. She was hiding behind it.
I took a lot of pictures, but I didn't really want to see
She didn't want to watch it up close.
I don't like bullfights, and it bothered me very much.
Was that the only one you've ever gone
It's
to?
the only one.
Yeah.
They have them here on occasion.
Yeah, well, we went to them.
I don't go.
Martin learned how to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So then we took the train to San Miguel.
Oh, yeah.
The train, why we took the train?
Because everybody said, take the train. And we had everything we owned we had about 9 big bags. And so we went to the train station early in the morning, and we got our tickets, stood in line, got our tickets, and then we went to check our bags through. And then while they were checking their bags, they're metal strapping it all the way around. And that, wow, this is a problem here. So we got on the train, and we got first class tickets in the first class coach, and we got on, and they'd oversold the coach by 100%. And we got on, and we had reserved seats, and we sat down, and there were three people sitting, a mother and a father, and a child, and a couple more kids, and the people had chickens tied together, live chickens under the seat. And we three of us, we sat there, the 3 people sitting on the other seat that we'd reserved, and we sat there, and this train took off. And it
stopped at every little town.
It was a fiesta weekend, a fiesta day, and everybody was, and everywhere we stopped, vendors would come on, they'd be selling tacos and tortillas and
little jellies and
flans. And we sat there, because we had absolutely no Spanish at that time, and we sat there, and you and the little boy that was with us, this family, were more or less the same age, and you guys were running up and down that aisle and having a great time. You didn't have any trouble communicating. We were sitting there looking at our dictionary, and and we'd say something, and they'd say something, and we'd say, But it took us 9 hours to go 148 miles, and we stopped us everywhere. When we arrived in San Miguel, the Sunday afternoon, and it was just, the station was deserted. There was nobody there.
And they wouldn't give us our luggage.
So I immediately got out of the car, ran down to the baggage car to make sure the luggage didn't disappear, because we're being warned here, watch your luggage. So we ran down. They brought all the luggage out, put it all side by side. So I got my stubs out for my tickets, and I said, this is our luggage. And I said, you have tickets? He says, no. I said, but this is my luggage. He said, no, this is Domingo. It's Sunday. There's nobody in the office today. You've got to come back tomorrow. So there was nothing we could do. He wouldn't give us the luggage, and so we said, well,
there was no taxi.
We need a taxi. So we looked for the taxi, and there was one old beat-up station wagon. I already had 3 people in it, and a bale of straw in the back, plus all their luggage. The guy says, come on, we can. So we all jammed into this taxi, and then we started off for town, which was about maybe 3 or 4 miles from the station into the center of the town. And we went down this dirt road, and there was just nothing. It was just so quiet and so still, because it was in the middle of the afternoon. Everybody's having a siesta at that time. So then we arrived at our hotel, and all that was her handbag with her makeup and her toothbrush. And so the next morning I took a taxi back to get the luggage, and it was all there. But also all the kids were there who were going to carry the bags over to the taxi, so that they weren't there on Sunday, because Sunday was closed. So everybody had to get their few centavos. So we got it all. We went back to this hotel. We stayed at this hotel for
4 days.
4 days, and for the 3 of us,
3 meals a day.
3 meals a day in a room, and it ended up costing us $14 for the 3 of us for 4 days and 3 meals a day, and it was great. It really was wonderful. And, so then we went out looking for a place to live. We wanted to rent a house, and so
we went to the Instituto and to register for our
Courses.
courses. And there was a young lady there who said, "Hey, you all, are you looking for a house?" And we said yes. So she took us to a house on Jesus, and we took it. It was the first house we saw, and we looked at other houses, but we really liked this.
That was great.
And that was the Sonia Cervantes house.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what was your first impression of this town?
Oh,
Well, then we went for a walk. When we arrived, we went for a walk around the main plaza, and it was just so beautiful. And the parochia, the big church. I mean, everything was so different. And the Sunday night, all the young people were all doing the paseo around the main plaza. Girls going one way and the boys going the other. All the aunts and the mothers and sitting there watching, the chaperones. And it was.
we fell in love with
We
it.
fell.
Very,
It was so beautiful, and the jacaranda was they were all out in bloom, and the bougainvillea and all those wonderful flowers, and the vendors selling birds on cages of just every kind of bird you can imagine. It was just so picturesque, and the climate was perfect because we just come from St. Vincent, where it was very hot and very humid. No more than about 300 miles from the equator, and it really was very bad. We got here, it was hot in the daytime, and at nighttime it cooled off because it was almost a mile high on the mountains. It was just terrific. Yeah, we loved it.
So again, you had taken this big risk to quit your former life, and you got here. How long did it take before you got involved again?
3 days.
well, we went to the theater, and
Just why? Did you just have to see it? Or?
No,
well,
we
there
went-
was a Pilar Rioja.
No, we went to the little bookstore on the corner, and the woman in the bookstore said, "Would you like to buy tickets to go and see Pilar Rioja, the Spanish dancer, the classical Spanish dancer?"
Flamenco?
She was classical flamenco and classical dancer. So we said, sure. And so the tickets were like $1.50 or something. So we bought tickets and we went to the theater, and we had box seats for $1.50. And so when we watched them, this woman was just fantastic, really great dancer. And the only trouble was we couldn't see her because there was no
lighting
lighting.
was so
They had
bad.
two boards nailed on either side of the proscenium with a half a dozen 100-watt bulbs and a piece of cardboard bent over to reflect the light back onto the stage. And so then on Monday we went back to the store, and the woman said, "How did you like the dancer?" I said, "She was fantastic." I said, "But we couldn't see her." She said, "Well, we've just taken over the theater, and we don't have any money, and there's nobody who really knows how to do it, and what to do technically." So I said, "We're going to be here for a couple of weeks." I said, "If there's anything I can do to help." So she reached in the drawer, hands me the keys to the theater. And I never got out of there for 17 years. And we got very involved right off the bat. And then we started, then we decided we were going to do a big production.
You decided, or how did that work? Like, were you invited to do it?
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
invited
This is
to
Los
do it.
Títeres de
Yeah.
Cachipora,
Yeah.
Garcia Lorca
Yeah.
play.
But what-
Garcia Lorca.
The woman who sold us the tickets was also the president of the Cultural Association. And we became very friendly with her, and and we told her what our background was and everything. And she was a Spanish Mexican, real Spanish descent, a Spanish language purist, and she also owned the Spanish language
Carmen
school.
Messi Hawkins.
She owned the Spanish language school, and so she was telling us all about Garcia Lorca, the famous Spanish playwright who was the equivalent of Shakespeare in Spain. And she said he wrote a lot of plays for puppets, and so she got us a translation of one of these plays, and into English because we couldn't really.
And
that
we
time.
said, yes, we would like to take it on.
Yeah.
So,
In English?
No, in Spanish.
No, it was but we had to have an English translation. So I made rendered sketches of all the costumes, of all the characters, and presented them to her. And she never had anything like that before, and so she said, "Go ahead." And so I made prosthetic noses and chins and wigs, and designed all the costumes.
That you put on actors.
I
So you
put
didn't
on
do
actors.
puppets?
We didn't.
No, this was with actors. We had over 20 actors, and they were Mexicans, and they were Americans, and Canadians.
Canadians,
And,
Spanish.
and of all different classes. We had hotel people who were
Taxi drivers,
taxi drivers. We had
professors.
a great mixture of people in this play. And
But
I
we
had
taped all the dialogue in really good Spanish. And then
The
everybody,
voices.
then all the actors, all mimed. They lip synced all the voices. And we had wonderful sets. We met a great guy who was a set designer who worked with us. And,
Mickey Schlee.
yeah,
and he designed all our sets, and John built it. And this took over 6 months
Yeah.
to prepare.
we had music composed and played, especially for the performance.
And we even put ourselves in the play.
Yeah.
But he was a character. He was a baggy barber with beautiful pink shirt, and I was an old man cobbler, 80-year-old cobbler, and you were in it as
A street urchin.
A little street urchin.
I remember my first time on stage was coming out and abusing you and being chased off by you.
Yeah.
And the thing was, the play was so successful that we were asked to do it in the theater, whereas in Guanajuato, which is a marvelous,
Well,
beautiful
the-
theater.
Was the performance for the state governor. That was very successful. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. But that was a lot of work. From then on, we just got into it more and more.
More and more productions.
So Mom she was doing acting in the plays, and I was the technical director for the theater for many years after that. But I guess our biggest one was when we did another Lorca play, was Real Puppets. But you can't leave Mush out, because Mush was very important.
Not to
Before.
this point.
No, but before.
To our
Because
English.
right after we did the first play, we met Masha Bayo, who was a director from Hollywood, and she became very much a part of our lives, because she was directing, Mom was acting, and I was doing the sets and the lighting, and so we became a great team. Nikki was designing the sets, I was building them, and we were doing shows in Spanish and in English, mime, all kinds of
But the
things.
Garcia Lorca play that we did with the puppets was
Our
our
own,
own
yeah.
production, and the puppets were almost life-size, and the sets were 2-story high. They were wonderful.
Also
This
designed
was very,
by
very,
Vicky.
and they asked us to take this play and this company and take it all over Mexico. But something happened. We lost the theater. Or Carmen lost the theater.
Well, what happened? Because one day you went down there and it was guarded by police.
Well, we
wasn't
did
it?
we did our opening weekend with a show which had taken us over 6 months to prepare, and make the puppets, to rehearse it, to tape it, to build the sets, and get it ready. And we had a spectacular opening weekend. And then we were all set to do the following weekend, 3 days with shows. And Mom went in
to check all the puppets and see everything was all right. And I came out, and I was lucky I came out, because an hour later they came up with a big padlock and they bolted the door and they put a padlock on it. We couldn't get in the theater for like 6 months.
What had happened was the local administration claimed that Carmen and the Cultural Association had breached their contract with the city that they had to run the theater. And what they were really worried was there was a lot of pressure from the locals, because they thought that the gringos were taking over their theater. And so they sequestered the theater, and Carmen had to go to Mexico to the government and get an injunction to get all the equipment out, because we had all our equipment in there. And so we finally got out. By the time we got the theater back, it was we'd lost contact with the whole thing. And you were ready to take off for school, and so we lost you. You were one of our best puppeteers. And what I said, the best puppeteer.
So that was kind of the heyday of theater in San Miguel, was before the theater
In the 70s.
got closed down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we got
That
the
was-
theater back. And
Yeah, we got it
still
back, yeah.
did a lot of productions in English after that.
Yeah.
Which show are you most proud of?
Oh, I think the puppet
That
show.
show.
That was the most artistic. That was the one that we put the most of ourselves into. I mean, it was something we'd always wanted to do. That was really creative, really artistic. The best, we put together all the best of all the experience that we had gained over the years. We were very proud of that.
As an actress, I think I was the proudest of the effects of gamma rays on Man in the Moon Miracles,
Yeah, that was
which I
fantastic.
played the lead, and the technical director just he made the sets and so forth, and the lighting, and that was one of the best things I've ever done.
What was it about that play that touched you so deeply?
Oh,
It was a very moving play.
I think the character of this woman, aging alcoholic woman,
Technical picture. Go on.
well, I have such a wide range of emotions to portray, and that.
And you were looking after the woman who had Alzheimer's, and you had two daughters who were flipping out.
It was just that I felt I had accomplished something when I performed
Was
this
it
role.
cathartic for you? Or was it just cathartic?
Actually, I became a nervous wreck doing it. The emotions that I had to portray every night, I had to weep. And, but it was was a full-rounded role that I felt was one of my best roles.
But this has been a great.
But I did a lot of comedy, and I just love doing that because I love to do it on the roaring play. And I did a lot of shows. And then I got very involved with play readers too, not just productions, but a lot of play reading. I was at the very beginning. We started the play readers in the early '70s here, and that goes back a long, long time. I got very involved as an actress and directing. John wasn't as involved in that.
No, but I had a very interesting experience in 1980 when they decided they were going to renovate the theater, which is over 100 years old, and the federal government was picking out 5 or 6 theaters throughout the whole of Mexico that they were going to bring back to their original colonial splendor. Many of them were theaters designed on the European-style theater with horseshoe galleries and three tiers. And so, because of what I've been doing for the theater here in San Miguel, the federal government contracted me to act as an advisor, as a consultant, to redesign all the staging and the lighting and the sound to fit in with the old style theater, so that so theaters would still look the same, but would be brought up more up into modern scale. And so I worked with a Mexican engineer from Mexico City, and they gave me all the drawings, and I just overlaid the drawings, and then we took them all and we went to all of these different theaters throughout Mexico, and it was really an interesting, very interesting experience. And to this day, I don't know whether they ever finished the theaters, because in 1982 the bottom fell out here economically, and they ran out of money, and all the theaters were put on hold. And so I haven't been down to the southern part of the country since then to find out whether they ever finished it. So someday we got to take a trip to Tuxtla Gutierrez and Veracruz. Yeah, there were 5 altogether, including the one that was finished ultimately here. But by the time they finished it, it'd be a long time, and the theater was closed. I was working for the Federal Fine Arts School, and we were both doing shows. And so we kind of lost interest over the 2 years that the theater was closed, and we were into other things. Mom was sculpting, and I was getting involved with other things, like solar energy and building solar cookers. And so Like, the wonderful thing about it is down here is that there's so much to do. I mean, there's no, people used to say, "What do you do down there all the time?" You can only go to so many parties. Which we did and do, but it's there's no way.
Well, we could just throw out the chronology and kind of do freewheeling talk for the next 20 minutes. Or we could continue on with,
Well,
Talk about your sculpture, because that's what you've done the last few years.
I would talk about the solar. The things that we were interested in.
I'm interested in kind of how you see each other and how you see yourselves, like how are you different and how are you the same? And see if you agree on that or not.
They're completely different.
How are you
Well,
different?
wait,
It's on.
It's on, he's got it on.
oh, you got the
Oh,
camera.
yeah. This is important too.
I didn't know the camera was on. I would have been ready. Well, my sculpture is something that I'm really interested in, and that I've been doing over the years. My soft sculpture and bronzes, and my paper sculpture. The paper sculpture is the newest medium that I've been working in, and that's deep relief, and it's all white, which I think we saw at the beginning of the program. And it's very exciting. And John is helping me with it. I'm doing some casting. I can really help with this. Because
So you still work well together?
I've been selling, yes.
No?
Well,
Yes, we do.
Yes, we still.
In 3 weeks from today, we will be married 51 years. We still work together.
Yeah, we still work, because we have a plan. Our plan is the new project that we were going to do, are the theaters, models of the theaters in 3 dimension, with the sculpture and all the lights and
Music.
music and everything. I think that would be kind of an exciting project.
we love doing it.
So we're coming around full circle to our display days.
So we're going to find out once again whether we can still work together.
Yeah, well, we argue.
You working well together?
We argue, of course.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get upset and you didn't do it right. But then,
I think we argue better now than we used to. Well, I think we're more cognizant of our each other's shortcomings and so
we
to say,
argue more friendly.
more friendly, yeah. We do Seinfeld arguing. Until we get to the point of absolute ridiculousness when we both burst out laughing.
Did you say how we see each other?
Yeah. Like, how do you see yourselves as different? How do you see yourselves as the same?
Well, I think it hasn't changed from the very beginning. I see him as a sports person.
This is how you're different.
How we different.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to say, Chuck!
We're not.
And,
But I also like good things. I like music, I like art, I like good dancing, so I consider myself a well-rounded person.
yeah, well, you are.
You're.
I'm not.
No, you're not. No, because you're very anti-sport.
I'm not anti-sport. I'm just not as interested
Well,
as
you
you
know,
are.
I think.
I find that the skating they do, it just gets so boring. They go on and they skate like hell, and then they do some turns, and then if they don't fall down, everybody thinks that's fantastic. That's boring.
That used to be the same way when we were doing ballet. If you went down the stage and jump up in the air.
Yeah, but we know very well that
If you didn't
that's
fall down, that was something.
okay. But there's more to it than that. There's the artistry and the feeling that comes when one dances or skates. But I think that's too much importance is put on that, on them doing their 3 turns in the air.
But I think that is exactly the same thing holds true in ballet. When you go to a ballet company and you sit and watch,
As soon as somebody starts doing what they
Well, everybody, because they don't know any better, that's
But,
why
yeah,
it's just for the
but-
public. The mass people don't know any better. If it just looks good because they're doing these wet-day turns and it looks so spectacular, it's not that hard. And the same thing when they're doing this, and that is, I think that the English couple, then that is showing artistry, and the German skater.
But you know that we've always agreed, Katerina, we've always agreed that in every pursuit, whether it's physical or artistic, there's always somebody steps out forward and they have that certain something which is restricted to a very small percentage. It doesn't make any difference whether it's ice skating or ballet or art or...
We've always
acting
agreed
or-
on that,
yeah.
that's one thing we've agreed on.
But I have more tolerance for boring things than you do, obviously.
Oh, yes, well, you can spend a lot more time, you know.
So how do you see Mom as being different than you?
Well, I think she's more compassionate than I am. I think she has a greater deal of sensitivity. And she's more artistic. She has a better eye. She brings a greater sensitivity to our relationship than I do. But I like what I am as opposed to what she is, because it gives me my space too. The fact that I play tennis, and that's really, a good part of my life. And she doesn't, I don't mind, because that is something I can do where I feel, I'm doing that, but that's my thing. She does her work, she does her cooking, her tai chi, her sculpture, whatever. And so she does it, and we're not competing with each other. And so I think, no matter how close you are, there's certain things have to be separate.
But I think too that in the past 3.5 years, we have.
Since you found out you had cancer?
Yes, since I found out I had breast cancer and had an operation and then had a recurrence this last year. And it made a difference in our lives.
It's made you more similar?
No, it didn't make us more similar. It made us
more
closer.
aware of our mortality and to make the most of what we have.
So we've had to, it's upset our lives in such a way as that we've had to go to Canada and we've had to live in someone else's house and lived out of a suitcase for a very long time. And it has just brought us closer because we've had to put up with obsession.
It's a new and bigger project that we're facing.
Like a challenge. But
And the most important one.
Yeah.
very important.
We've always worked together on the other projects, and so this has brought us close together.
And he has been very good support for me and in what I am doing and taking the ozone treatment at the clinic, and he supports that with me all the way.
Yeah. Yep.
But we still have long-range plans.
So are you similar in how you deal with adversity?
That's very true. Gee, I don't
I'm
know.
not sure.
I don't think we've had enough to really know how similar we are. We've had enough.
I don't know how you felt I handled this whole thing. Whether you
Very well.
the same way.
Oh, no, I would have collapsed completely.
Why do you think that?
Yeah, because, the men are like,
I can't say why you said that. I don't know why you said that. I don't know whether you're being facetious.
no, I'm not very facetious at all.
Because you have had a little threat with this lump in your neck, and you didn't seem to get too alarmed
No,
about
no,
it.
I guess not. That's because I don't know.
somebody told me, yes, you've got cancer in your neck, and I think my whole attitude would be different. So what I'm saying is that I don't know whether I could have handled it as well as you have. I think you've done wonderfully.
You know,
Well, we got lots of time.
What are your plans?
well,
I wanna see the year 2000. Yeah. That's not too much.
Yeah, that's pretty soon.
Yeah, I'll be 78.
Uh-huh.
5 years.
You want to see the year 2002?
yes, I would like that. I would like to be going to the big party.
Yeah. Yeah, we wanna dance. Well, I think if we stay here, all our friends, it seems to be conducive to longevity living here.
Well, you know, yes, I was talking to somebody today who, they saying that they put their house on the market and they want to travel now. And they've got a little apartment going up in the States and they're being near their family. But, we could do that. We could sell this house.
You could, is that something you want to do?
Not really. That frightens me a little bit to think that we wouldn't have a base and a home base to come to. We love our home. We love it. We love it.
We've been here half our married life.
But it doesn't allow us to travel. I would like to travel and see more of the world, which I haven't done. Would you like to do that?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
No, are you sure? You say that, but
Well, a selected list of places, yes.
I would like to go to Turkey, the land of my father was born, and to Spain, my ancestors. I would like to see other places. You've seen a lot of other places. We have.
So other plans?
Well,
Do you want to get to Wimbledon or?
Ireland?
No.
No?
No, I don't want to go to Ireland. It's, I'm too ashamed of what they're doing.
It has nothing to do.
Yes, it does.
with you.
It has lots to do with me. It's part of my heritage, and I'm ashamed of my heritage because they're so stupid.
So Ireland's not a plan.
Not Ireland, not like that.
So let me ask you, if you were talking to future generations about what secret has let you live together for 50 years, what advice would you give?
Well, actually, a certain amount of tolerance that one has to have, because after all, it hasn't all been smooth for us. No. And
Tell me about it.
That'll be on the next tape.
and a sense of humor.
I think that's the most important. You gotta be able to laugh. When things look horrible, if you can't burst out laughing, you're in bad shape.
Sometimes it's not easy to burst out
I know.
laughing when things get really bad. But we managed. And it's been good. It's been fun.
Of the 50 years, maybe 40 of them have been pretty good. That's 80%. How much more do you ask? Nowadays, if things don't work out, when kids get married, and they're gone in a year.
They don't persevere. We've had to struggle, beginning of our marriage. Struggle to make money, to keep the family together, bring up the children. And it was harder work, it was hard work. And, I think that makes a greater bond. I'm not saying that people don't struggle today, because
Oh, yeah, I feel very, very sympathetic towards single-family parents, single-parent families, where a woman or a man are trying to bring up 2 or 3 kids alone. I mean, at least we were together and we faced it together and with some support. It must be very difficult today for, people bringing up kids by themselves.
And families, they both of them have to work to make enough money to support themselves. But we did that.
We did.
But yeah, we did that, but we were kind of ahead of our time. Most my sisters, for instance, their husbands supported them, and they stayed home.
Well, you supported me and I stayed home.
We did. Was that enough?
Anything else you'd like to say?
Wonderful.
That's it, will you do it again with me?
I would do it again, yes, like a flash.
Oh, good.
I'll think about it.
Shouldn't come to the end of the probation period yet, she said.